Hey, folks, Brian Blessing in Las Vegas. We're going to have some fun. Divisional round of the playoffs. Let's look at the props at herebangthebook.com. Coming to you from Las Vegas. We're fired up for the football this weekend. Props are going to be a fun way to attack the games. On the Sunday games, I do like the games. I have an opinion. I think you get a higher scoring game in the early game with the Patriots and the Chargers and a lower scoring game with New Orleans and Philadelphia. But that doesn't mean there can't be high numbers posted by individuals from a props perspective. Let's go to that first game. Phillip Rivers over 256.5 passing. I'd have to go over the total here. There are question marks with Gordon. He could have a big day. His number 66.5 yards rushing, but question marks abound there. But don't forget, Gordon does a lot of his damage with swing passes as well. They're controlled running plays. He can throw swing passes to Eckler. He's got rhythm with Keenan Allen. And if the Patriots jump to a lead, Rivers is going to be the guy. They're going to put the ball in his hands. I would look for Phillip Rivers to go over the 256.5 passing yards. Tom Brady at 270.5. Maybe some gray areas here. At late in the season, Patriots ran the ball really, really well with Michelle and White. I kind of lean under 270.5 for Brady. The interesting one is Gronkowski at 52.5 yards. I mean, he couldn't even run back to the huddle. He looked so beat up throughout the course of the season. But maybe the bye week gives him a bounce in his step. And believe me, he is a massive component to this New England offense when it's effective. I would actually look at Gronkowski going over 52.5 yards. I would look at Sonny Michel going over the 65.5 yards rushing. And for Rivers, I'd go over 256.5. Good number. I think it's right where it should be with Keenan Allen, 70.5. And Gordon, too many gray areas. As I said, he's dinged up. So over with Rivers, over with Michel, and even a little flyer on over with Gronkowski. Now, let's go to the late game. This is intriguing. Philly and New Orleans. The one thing about the Eagles, Foles is getting all the pub, but don't sleep on Schwartz. He's a great defensive coordinator. The Eagles' defense is finally healthy. And last quarter of the season, New Orleans' offense really kind of ran hot and cold. They're fresh as a daisy. Loud Superdome, but the Eagles are on a team on a run. I think it'll be a lower scoring game. That doesn't mean they won't move the ball between the 20s, but I think both teams will stiffen when you get to the red zone. Foles, 273.5 passing yards. That would be the one, and I think they're correlated. That would be the one I'd go over 273.5 with Foles on the premise that if they do get behind, he's going to have to throw a lot. And the running game's a three-headed monster that just doesn't seem to click with Adams. Sproles is contributing now, and Smallwood. But a lot of those plays are little swing passes to those guys. I do like the tight ends the Eagles have, specifically Ertz at 60.5. You got a rapport with this guy. He's the safety valve. And Foles does look for the tight ends. What I do like is he stretches the field early in the games over the top to Jeffries and Aguilar. So I think that will open the middle of the field. So I like Zach Ertz to go over 60.5 yards. Brees, the number's a good one, 289.5. New Orleans is more than content if they're controlling the game to run the football. So Brees doesn't have to sling it all over creation. He's capable of it, but I think it's a good number. I'm going to steer clear of this. It's tough, though, because it's correlated. Kamara at 58.5 rushing yards. So much of what Kamara does are little swing passes. So he could get about 150, 100 yards, total yards from scrimmage, but a lot of those could be little swing passes. I'd possibly lean under the total here of 58.5 rushing yards for Kamara. Michael Thomas, 85.5 yards receiving. He's been the go-to guy for Brees. But again, I think it's a game that is more defensive in posture, or at least in terms of how it's going to reflect on the scoreboard. I think both teams could move the football, but I do think both teams could stiffen in the red zone. I like the game to go under the total. From an over perspective, I would lean towards Ertz over and Foles over, but go under with Kamara's rushing yards. It's always fun trying to dissect the props, and in many respects, as we're getting ready, 300 props for the Super Bowl, a lot of times the guys that go over on individual props are guys that play on the losing football team. Always fun doing this stuff for you here at bangthebook.com. Listen to the Sports Betting Podcast with our pal Adam Burke. I'm Brian Blessing in Las Vegas. Follow me at Brian Blessing. Follow along right here at Bang the Book.